Welcome to my channel. Enjoy this video and subscribe my channel. Greg Chillick is a new cast member in the wide world of 90 Day Fiancé, and while he was racing to the altar with Joan Khrushchev, I couldn't help but find some similarities between Greg and his mother Lucille and former cast member Colt Johnson and his mother Debbie Johnson. Greg is a 35-year-old baker from Islip Terrace, New York. Joan is a 26-year-old director of a non-profit, non-governmental organization, NGO, from Kampala, Uganda. Greg had met Joan on a trip to Uganda, while they lost touch for a year and a half when he returned to the U.S. Joan had looked him up on social media. They chatted for a few months until Greg went to Uganda to propose to Joan. I believe Greg should have considered his living situation at home before he asked Joan to marry him. Greg still lived with his mom because he couldn't afford to live on his own. He had plenty of time to get a steady job and look for an apartment rental while Joan's K-1 got approved. But I'm sure Greg enjoyed getting his mom to do his work. He was dependent on his mother just like Colt had been at one point in his life. Greg lives with his mother in New York. During his introduction, Greg talked about how he loved Long Island. He talked about loving driving in Long Island even though it became aggressive at times. There was still so much to do, and so many people, and there was always something going on. Greg explained the average starter home on Long Island is probably anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. According to Greg, he's nowhere near that position to put down a deposit on a family home. Greg laughed that his current living situation involved living at home with his mother in Long Island. He added that as much as he loved his mom, she was a huge C***K block. Greg explained Joan was skeptical about living with Greg and Lucille as she wanted her own place where they could have their privacy. Colt has lived with his mother, Debbie, for the majority of his life, and his relationship with his mother played a significant role in the mounting issues between him and Larissa Lima. When Larissa touched down in Las Vegas, she wasted no time in making it clear that she wanted to distance herself from Debbie. Her decision was firm, and she was ready to start fresh on her own. However, as they began the process of searching for new places to live, the tension became palpable. It quickly became apparent Colt and Debbie struggled with the idea of being separated. The situation was emotionally charged, and it was clear that finding a resolution was not going to be easy. Greg's mother does his chores during a casual chat with his mom. Greg asked what she'd done throughout the day. Lucille replied she went to the pool with their dog. Lucille had hung the laundry on the line, which included Greg's clothes, such as his shirts. She pointed out Greg had so much dirty laundry piled up in his room. Lucille told the cameras she was still babying her son. It's not something she was even denying to save her son from the embarrassment. Lucille explained how she liked to have a nice meal cooked for Greg. She would go to his room and scoop up all his clothes when she was doing her laundry. She would clean his bathroom and his room when he left. She would put out the garbage and finish the dishes, and the sink as well. At one point, Greg even asked his mother to fetch him water on the show, and she willingly rushed to the kitchen to do so. Lucille even fed Greg a piece of carrot from her plate. Colt had been living with Debbie since he was born and had become closer to his mom since his father passed away 10 years before 90 Day Fiancé Season 6. She'd bragged about how she spoiled Colt by doing everything around the house. She was proud Colt didn't even know how to make a bed. Colt himself described his relationship with his mother as more of a friendship than a typical mother-son relationship. I strongly feel like Greg would say the same about his mother. Lucille is interfering in Greg-Joan's relationship. Greg was hoping Joan would be fine with possibly living with his mother for a year or two. Lucille claimed she wanted to observe how Joan treated him in person and how Joan talked to him. She thought Greg could be naive in relationships, and Lucille feared he was being taken advantage of because he was very generous and caring. She observed Greg had been alone in his room the whole time, and suddenly, he had a woman in his room. Debbie and Colt's close relationship has been an obstacle in his past relationships, including with Larissa and his second wife, Vanessa Guerra, who he briefly separated from before getting dumped by her. Both women found it difficult to live under the same roof as Debbie. Vanessa had even moved out when Debbie started interfering in Colt's relationship with Vanessa. She pointed to Debbie's constant interruptions. "It's non-stop," she said. Hey, Colt. Even if our door is closed at the room, she'll say, "Hey, Colt."